What's good, people? It's about that time to randomly relate, reverse rants, no hate. So, I saw an interview with Andre Ward, with the guys from the zone, and they were asking him questions, about what would he do and certain, maybe like 8 questions, you know, who would he listen to, this person, this kind of music versus this kind of music, and all that type of stuff, right? And somewhere in that interview, before they got to those 8 questions, he talked. They were asking him about broadcasting. They asked him about doing interviews and like being friends with people, and does it bother him to like sometimes he has to say certain things that about somebody he's friends with, they might take it the wrong way, and that type of thing. Now we know him and AJ are not friends. I've never known him and Canelo to be friends. Okay, but I noticed, that they asked every question that they asked him with the 8 questions. He had to think about it first. Nothing that they asked him just right away. He had to think about it. They asked him Ray Leonard or Ray Robinson. E40 or I think was it Too Short, some one of them rappers. Anyway, somebody. So everything they was asking him, he had to think. No. When they asked him, they said, "You're making a comeback. Do you fight A, Anthony Joshua, or B, come back against Anthony Joshua, or come back against Canelo Alvarez?" He kind of just sat there and kind of like, boom, right away, Anthony Joshua. Now, let me just say this. The only thing he said in there was, well, I mean, you never know what could happen. They asked him about, do you think AJ can beat Fury? He said, not this Fury I'm watching now, and anything could happen. It's heavyweight boxing. But he never has anything positive to say about Anthony Joshua, and that's just right. Doesn't bother me personally. I'm giving you guys boxing news, but let me, I gotta when I smell bullshit, I gotta call it. Okay, let me tell you how this is personal. I can go back on any interview, any segment of any show, especially when him and Timothy Bradley's together. They always try to bury AJ. They always try to shoot him down. And Andre Ward has made this comment before, a conversation about he thinking he could beat Anthony Joshua. Okay, if you think you're safer fighting against um, Anthony Joshua over Canelo, then there's several people who you'd come back and they beat you now. Let me explain something. Let's just say if he felt like, as far as, I mean, making the money, if it's a money thing, who's he going to make more money fighting against? Right? Could that be what he was alluding to? If it's about skill level, between the two fighters, is that what he was alluding to? You could juggle with that, but then for me, I've heard him so many times try to shoot AJ down that it's like, bro. Now, it's obvious. You know, Ward is somebody I always went with him no matter who he was fighting. I like Andre Ward as a fighter, but Andre Ward, he's talking about not leaning towards people and being just calling it how you see it. Now, if he see Fury is the better fighter, so be it. He doesn't have to agree with what I think. Okay, that's not what this is about. But let me just say this: if you watch him versus Kovalev, you watch Canelo versus Kovalev, Andre Ward got hit a hell of a lot more than Canelo did. Andre Ward couldn't get away from Kovalev's jab. Okay, second fight he finally got it right to where he was able to, he learned from the first fight what he needs to do and stop the bully. He did what he had to do. But if you look at the fights, okay, him and Kovalev are almost the same height, okay, or are the same height or whatever. I don't know. Kovalev might be a little bit taller. I'm not sure, but he couldn't get away from Kovalev's jab. Okay, he couldn't get away from it. He basically had trouble handling Kovalev's reach and his long shots. Kovalev is not a better fighter than Anthony Joshua. Okay, stop. Andre Ward is too light an ass to beat Anthony Joshua. At his height and the fact he's naturally a small, skinny guy, Andre Ward would probably, as a heavyweight, be around 210 or maybe a little less. Okay. Andre Ward, now height wise, he may be able to put more weight on, but as far as him fighting effectively, first off, his punches wouldn't even hurt Anthony Joshua. He's not a big puncher at 175. He was never a huge puncher. He was always an accumulation of punches, even at 160. But at 160, to me, that was the best Andre Ward. Okay. Anthony Joshua is 6'6". Anthony Joshua's reach is crazy. If you couldn't get past Kovalev's jab, and Kovalev was hurting with those shots, what does he think would happen getting smacked upside his head by Anthony Joshua? And see, AJ can box. AJ got some skills. These guys are hating on AJ so bad that it's crazy. But it's so funny because they talk about being straight up. And listen, if Andre Ward was to fight Canelo Alvarez, the smarts that he would need to beat Canelo, I believe he has those smarts. The physicality, I believe he has the physicality. Where I think Andre Ward may have problems, I mean, he got the reach, he can work behind his jab. If you honestly think you'd have an easier time beating Anthony Joshua, this is where, if this is not hate and you truly feel like, it will be easier to beat AJ, understand something. That means you watch Canelo and you realize this dude, like, you feel some kind of way, like it will be hard. So, in other words, you don't trust your jab, your reach, working behind the stick, and the things that you would need to do to keep him off. So, mentally, Canelo might win that war because he has a stronger mind. So if you truthfully believe this dude, Canelo, is like this big, man. Andre Ward is up here to him. And if you feel like it was be an easier time, that means that the physical gift that you have that Canelo don't have, you don't have trust that it would work. That means you watch Canelo and feel like, man, you know, and Canelo is a hell of a fighter. But you tell me, as big as you are in height to Canelo, that's how big Anthony Joshua is to him. Okay, and not only that, with AJ's reach and his power, see, from the outside looking in, people love to say that a guy can't do this, he can't do, all you got to do against this guy until you get in there and you realize, it's not as easy as I thought it was. Anthony Joshua would knock Andre Ward spark out. Okay, Andre Ward doesn't have enough power. I think Alexander Usyk would beat Andre Ward. I don't. Andre Ward, if you watch him against Kovalev, you realize he lost his elusiveness. His movement is not the same. He still had enough to beat Kovalev. And he even wished Kovalev well because Kovalev tested positive for some substance, using some illegal substance. And even in that, and here's a guy who he knows he had bad blood with, and Kovalev said all types of rotten things about him. But yet, Anthony Joshua, who's never said nothing about him, it's like he always has this something to say. Look at even his facial expression that he has when they ask him something about AJ. You could just see it that it's a personal thing with him, and like he doesn't like AJ. Something about AJ he doesn't like. But I just want to say the dude is dreaming. If he thinks if there's any fighter that you look at and think you couldn't beat or you'd have problems with, and you think AJ's on that list, man, AJ would smash him up. AJ would destroy this dude, man. It wouldn't even be a good fight. That's a fight. Look, he mentioned it before, but why didn't it happen? And to be perfectly honest with you, it's the type of thing where, people can believe what they want. It doesn't bother me. I don't wish anything bad on Andre Ward or any other fighter for that matter, but it's a situation where I'm kind of hoping that if he does make a comeback, that he actually jumps in there and try to get a fight with Anthony Joshua. It does nothing for Anthony Joshua to fight him and win. And that's the first thing people will say, man, he's fighting this little blown up middleweight, right? But sometimes people need a reality check. So in that sense, it's like, I'm not interested in that fight. No. But if he was dumb enough to think that, and I know it's all talk, because he's not going to do it. If he think he can climb in that ring, he will never do this, okay? Listen, it will never happen. But I would sit back and laugh my ass off because when that fight's done, I'm pretty sure he'd feel really stupid. You're too light in the ass. You don't have enough power. It's not like you have some blinding hand speed. Oh, AJ just can't see the shots. No, you're not faster than Andy Ruiz. Okay, you're a good technical boxer that uses your brain. You work. Okay, there is nothing that he has that will work against AJ. AJ can't figure this out. He can. AJ would walk through him. He'd smash him. He's lost his footwork. He's not the same. Even at his best, if he was to blow up to go to heavyweight, he would not beat Anthony Joshua. The thing is, he hates AJ to the point where it's like disrespectful the way he talks as if he's just going to beat. It's funny. Let me give you a quick story. There was a guy I used to go to the gym. It was a gym I used to go to, and this guy, he was about 180 pounds, maybe 185 pounds. And he would spar these heavyweights. And I remember he just had this real arrogance about himself. And he was a guy like, we don't really know, don't know each other, only met each other at the gym. But he was one of those guys, it was something about me, he wouldn't speak to me. He would speak to other guys. When he wouldn't even look at me. He would just, go his way or whatever. And one day, I didn't know that this conversation was taking place. And he was saying like, yo, the dude with the tattoos, like, I could beat him, man. And from what I understand, everybody was like, man, you crazy. That dude will whoop your ass, man. You too small for him, man. And that dude can fight his ass off. He's a complete fighter. Man, listen, just relax. You're getting too cocky now. Fighters don't like when somebody don't believe in them. Okay? Long story short, one day he got bold. And I was sparring 4 people. But let me show you what the coward did. He waited until after that 4th guy. When I was getting out, he's like, yo, you gonna go another. And I looked at him. And what he didn't realize, I felt as fresh at that part as I did in the beginning. And I take pride in my stamina and my cardio and all that as well. I'm not one of them dudes that just lift weights and just big muscular dude. And no, bro, I can go all night long. And I looked at him. And when I'm looking in his eyes, like I can feel the hairs on my back stand up like I'm gonna beat the. Okay, let me tell you something. I didn't care what he was gonna try to do. I wasn't worried about. I'm never worried about anybody. But the thing was, the first shot that I hit him with, the way he flew across the ring, it was like, yeah, dead meat, bro. And it was like I didn't like the guy. Like it was just one of those because I can tell he didn't like me. I never did nothing to him. I don't care. But it was like I did. When I say it, like put like this, I had no remorse about what I do to him. That's how I felt about this guy. Like So I was like and I'm punishing him. I'm beating the snot out this guy. I dropped his ass. When he was down, I could see him like his face and how he glancing up. And so when he got up, I'm feeling like this is out in the street. This is my mentality. Like I'm a beat the, because I felt insulted first off. Like, bro, you 185 fucking pounds. You gonna call me out like I'm some pushover. That's what really triggered me. Because it was just a personal thing. You know what I'm saying? So it's different when somebody just want to get some work in, but it's like, yeah, okay, no sweat. When I finished with this dude, okay, everybody told him, man, I told you. I told you, man. When I listened, guys, I beat the shit out this dude, man. I battered him badly. And, basically I'm saying it to say this. He was a slick, really good boxer. He was no pushover type dude, but it was like, bro, I'm every bit as good as you are, a lot bigger, a lot stronger, and even faster than you are. You don't understand what I'm saying? And his man, listen, it was like, no, bro. No effect on me, man. Nothing. Body, mind, physicality, everything. I'm strong in every department. And I think because AJ speaks like, he doesn't talk trash, and he speaks realistically. When he say things like, hey, I'll lose, and he lost the fight. People talk like AJ has a weak mind. This is how they take it. AJ is just being realistic. How many fighters have you heard talk and say, nobody can beat me? I'm the best fighter in the world. They lose. right? 3 or 4 losses later, they're still saying, I know I'm still the best fighter in the world, and you know, yada yada, and when my mind is right, and right, you have to keep explaining to people because you keep losing. Okay? You know, Deontay Wilder says he's the best heavyweight in the world, right? He thought that, he felt that, he lost. You understand? He can come back and he may say the same thing. I'm here to show everybody I'm still the best heavyweight or whatever he was feeling, right? Then what if he loses again? Then again. So every time you lose, you're going to keep saying, I'm better now than I was last fight. Oh, I learned a lot from that fight. Now I added this to my game and that, and I'm gonna be a much improved fighter. Come fighting. You can tell yourself all you want. Being realistic is the best thing for you to be. I think what people think about AJ, I think how they, because of his words, they think like, and then watching what happened with him in the Ruiz fight, how he reacted when he was getting hit. I think these are the people who don't want to admit that something wasn't right with AJ, and it's just like he got beat to the point where, like, if he gets under pressure, that's how he's going to respond again. That's what I believe in people. They feel like if somebody gets to him, he's going to fall apart. They seem to forget everything he's done before that fight and what he did to regain his title. And for everybody that keeps saying that he can't beat Fury, that's fine. I want to see if I don't care about what people think. I don't care what if AJ was to talk trash and say he can do this to him and Fury saying the same thing. I don't care about what they're saying. All I'm focused on is the fight. Words mean nothing. It's what you do. So I believe that in that sense, that's what people think. But it's something with Andre Ward and Timothy Bradley, the both of them. It's something about AJ that they don't like. Even for all these fat fighters, the pudgy fat ones that talk about, it's not a bodybuilding contest, man. Oh, the guy look like a fashion model, man. Ward made a comment before, something about he needs to focus more on being a boxer, not a model or something to that effect. So I know it's something personal. But I'm saying, okay, I've watched Andre Ward all his career, and I've watched, AJ. AJ would beat the shit out of Andre Ward. It would be a quick early knockout. He would punish him, man. And the only reason that he wouldn't take a whole lot of punishment is because he wouldn't be able to handle those shots. And when he gets behind that jab and realize he can't get to AJ, but AJ can get to him, and then if he does, when he does land something, it's not affecting AJ, and AJ has no problem roughing his ass up, you couldn't handle Kovalev's jab, And Andre Ward's a skinny dude, man. He doesn't even look 175 pounds or whatever. He's a skinny dude. So just to put weight on and go, no, it means nothing. He'd get the shit beat out of him, and Anthony Joshua would run through him with no problem. There's nothing that he could do. Body shots, that uppercut, everything. He would destroy Andre Ward. Andre Ward, my thing is, what I don't appreciate about what he's doing, I don't care that it's Anthony Joshua. I don't care who it is. If he was saying the same things about Deontay Wilder, I'd feel the same way. If he was saying it about any solid heavyweight, here's my point. He keeps talking and calling this guy out. Like, he's not calling him out. He's saying, like, oh, I could beat him. Oh, I know. But he's not going to do it. He's not going to come out of retirement at whatever his age, 35, 36, whatever. He's not going to come out of retirement. You didn't do it after you beat Kovalev. Okay, and then that's the point where, okay, I'm still active. Let me put the weight on it. That's the time to do it. You think that this guy's going to sit his ass home and then all of a sudden decide one day, let me pull a Sugar Ray Leonard and think like when he came back to fight Camacho, after Terry Norris whooped his ass and retired him, and you think he's going to come back and beat Camacho. You really think Andre Ward now, especially getting older, is going to go put a bunch of weight on, jump in there, and even attempt to fight Anthony Joshua? No. That's the part I don't like, is the disrespect. You're talking, and even with active fighters. That's one thing I respected about Floyd Mayweather, is because as soon as somebody would, Floyd would fight someone, or Floyd has a fight coming up, and people would irritate him, because it's like, but he knew how to handle these people. And, okay, so you're fighting such and such. Well, what happens? Are you going to fight? Well, we're not here to talk about that person. Right now, I got such and such in front of me. That's what I'm focused on. I just want to say to the people, support the pay-per-view. You're going to see a hell of a fight. That's what Floyd did. After the fight, same thing. Let the man celebrate his win. Next interview, then ask him these questions. As soon as you win, it's not just Floyd they do it too, but Floyd knew how to handle that. As soon as you win a fight, everybody want to know about what's next. Look, man, we just had this fight one fight at a time. We're not here to talk about such and such, whatever. This and that. That time come, we'll talk about it then. But right now, I just beat him. I want to talk about this fight. Ask me some questions about this fight, which is right. Which is only right. But Andre Ward is, he always talks like he's so confident that he could beat Anthony Joshua, but he doesn't. He's not going to do it. That's my whole thing. They always ask like it's like if they ask him something about Anthony Joshua, right away he has the answer right away, right away, right away. So I know it's a personal thing, which I don't like. I said I don't personally care. You don't have to like Anthony Joshua. I don't know Anthony Joshua anyways. Not like we're friends. I just like the guy as a fighter, the way he carries himself. But Andre Ward is a guy, who clearly has a personal thing that he can't hide. And to me, it's like he just contradicted himself when he talked about not leaning towards the fight and just calling like he said, no, you clearly have something against Anthony Joshua. And the thing is this. What happens when him and Fury fight is what's going to happen. Now, clearly, I'm going with AJ. I think AJ beats Tyson Fury. I think he beats Tyson Fury. Whether he knocks him out or whether it's by decision, I think he beats Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury and his team keep saying this is an easy fight. They're going to knock AJ out. And I believe it's nothing but them trying to use psychology, hoping that they can get in AJ's head. I think AJ beats Tyson Fury. And when he does beat him, and they talk about, oh, this Anthony Joshua, this Tyson Fury that I'm seeing now. First off, you guys seem to forget that Deontay Wilder can't box for shit. So to outbox Deontay Wilder, Wilder is trying to stay elusive. He stands there in front of you, but just slides back, tries to stay out of harm's way, and just throw shots and have people worried about getting hit with the right hand. So they were careful and cautious about coming in. But basically, when you do that, you keep Deontay in his comfort zone because the pace is what he wants. He don't want you to swarm him. He wants to be able to keep you at bay, keep that distance so he can lunge in and catch you with the long shots. And this is one of the mistakes all those guys that he fought made. Tyson Fury was the only really, really solid fighter that he fought that was smart enough to know that. There was no, like Luis Ortiz outboxed him, and Luis Ortiz was able to do it throughout the fight. But, he got caught those shots the same way in both fights. Tyson Fury punished him. Ortiz outboxed him, but he didn't punish Wilder. He had Wilder hurt in that first fight. There was a 6th or 7th round. He had him hurt, and he couldn't finish him. And basically, the same way everybody talk all that, like when a fighter gets hit with unanswered punches, they could have stopped that fight, They talk about how when Wilder dropped Fury, how it should have been over. He was knocked out. Well, it was no different from Harold Sconia knocking out Wilder. And they gave him a chance, a second chance to win the same fight he was knocked out in. And he even tried to debate that it was a knock, that it was a slip, and whatever. So it's not like outboxing Wilder is hard to do. So for people that seem to think and get behind this whole Wilder's better than AJ, so it's going to be an easier. Okay, you can tell yourself that. I don't care about all the debating. I just want to see the fight happen, and when it does, I'm going with AJ. Win, lose, or draw. I don't make excuses for nobody, but I believe AJ beats Tyson Fury, and I believe he knocks Tyson Fury out. I believe, regardless, even if Fury shows heart, get dropped and get up, I believe AJ wins this fight. Plain and simple, I believe AJ beats Tyson Fury. But at the end of the day, and not because I want him to win, I believe he has the tools. From what I see, people are hyping up. Let me tell you something. We can talk and make it seem like certain fighters have just had perfect records in every fight. Like, we saw what happened when he fought Otto Wallin. And he got cut because he got punched in his eye. He didn't come to the ring bleeding. Otto Wallin put that cut there. And Otto Wallin was on his ass, man. And many people thought Wallin won that fight. Let's not be stupid. Nobody is invincible other than Aries Zodiac. But but what I'm saying, I'm only serious. No, but listen, the way Andre Ward talks, man, and he big up certain fighters and try to. Andre Ward, this is my thing. If you know for a fact that you're coming back out of retirement and that you have no problem going in there to fight Anthony Joshua, okay. Anthony Joshua would have nothing to gain. But like I said, sometimes people need a reality check. But I'm telling you, again, you're too light in the ass, you're too damn skinny, you don't have enough punching power. And even with, you can box, but you don't have nothing. So can AJ. There's nothing that you present that AJ's not going to be able to handle. AJ will knock you spark out early. You wouldn't make it. That's an early knockout. Okay? And for people that saying AJ's scared to mix it up, no, AJ's not scared to mix it up. AJ has evolved as a fighter and he's using his brain and not just brute strength. You see, the same exact thing that you guys criticize Dubois for. Oh, he's all power. He depends on his power, right? The same exact thing. Now, what is people saying about Dubois? He has to learn how to box and mix it up and not be so aggressive. Now, AJ, through experience, is learning that, hey, okay, you know what? Working behind his stick works, man. Dictating the pace and keeping the people behind his long jab and going to the body and mixing it there. So all of this, the reason why fighters are saying that is because they feel like they know he's more of a threat now. See, the old AJ, he went for the knockouts. And what do you always hear people say? When you go for the knockout, that's when you get knocked out, right? But a fighter evolves and shows I have more patience now, more ring awareness, a better boxing IQ. Oh, but you want to criticize that because what it really is saying is, damn, this motherfucker gonna be harder to beat fighting like that now because we can't get to him. At least if he rushes in, we get a chance to catch him with something and possibly get him out of there. And that's all that is. That's all that is. Like I've said, I've made this example many times, man. It's like playing basketball. And people, all you got is a jumper. You ain't got no inside game. You can't stop my jumper. What the fuck do I need to run in there for? For what? Stop my J. Right? If you keep driving all the time, you ain't got no J. Why? They can't handle what you're doing. And that's, trust me when I tell you, that's all that is. These fighters know he's more difficult to deal with now. I don't care who thinks Fury will win. That's all good. I'm not about debating. But I'm going with AJ, that he's going to beat Tyson Fury. Plain and simple. We shall see. But again, let me know in the comments what y'all think about Andrea Ward in these comments. Do y'all really feel like he's being sincere? Or do y'all think it's a lot of hate in him, something personal with him inside against Anthony Joshua? Like I said before, we've heard, especially with him and Timothy Bradley get together, they never say anything good, nothing positive about AJ. Never. Never. And when you have to end a sentence, always talk about, well, in heavyweight boxing, you never know what can happen. It's like saying he could land a lucky punch. But they never credit him for his skills and what he knows how to do. So even, for the people that sit back and say, like I said, about, AJ not going for the kill, and like they were saying, like he had, what's his name, hurt? The last guy he fought, tomorrow I show you, right? They said that the old AJ would have got him out of there. Right. The old AJ that got knocked out by Andy Ruiz, who went back in the rematch and dominated Andy Ruiz. So just because you want to see him lose, but you try to camouflage it by saying what the old AJ would have done, or listen, man, you adjust to what you need, to each fighter. You make the proper adjustments. You fight your game. That's what it's about. Okay, and of all people, look at Andrea Ward. Andrea Ward tactics against Kovalev was different. It was the same, but different in the rematch. Okay, he realized what he had to do. But the same way. Andrea Ward, the difference, because we know AJ can punch with both hands. We know it. He has power, he has dynamite in both hands. But so does Daniel Dubois, right? And look what happened with him and Slow Joe Joyce. So methodically, you got one guy who's breaking the guy down. Now, and don't get it twisted, Dubois was in that fight. He was fighting his ass off. It's just that we saw who the better fighter was, who held up better. At the end of the day, if you look at Ward and Kovalev, right? Look at their fight. Both fights. One guy who most people feel like lost the first fight realized what he needed to do in the rematch, and he did it. Okay? The difference in him putting him down with body shots and him claiming he got hit low, and we know it wasn't no low blow. We saw all of that. But again, it took an accumulation of punches for you to put down a light heavyweight. Ward was never a huge puncher. Okay? Never. Never. I just respect the guy more who knows, they make me an offer, I'll come out of retirement. Well, no. First off, they're not going to make you. Why would he call out a middleweight? He didn't start as a light heavyweight. Why would he call out a middleweight? a retired middleweight. But now you make an offer. You decide, hey man, y'all listen, man, make me an offer. I want to come out and I want AJ. And like I said, I don't want to see anything happen to any fighter personally so much, but just for a good laugh, for you to get spanked. But at the same time, no, I wouldn't be interested in it. This would have to be a situation where if it actually happened, all right, whatever. Because I've seen worse things happen. But like I said, man, other than just the satisfaction of shutting his mouth up, AJ wouldn't have anything to prove, wouldn't have anything to gain. But Ward, I just think he talked too much, and he keeps putting himself like on some pedestal because if you think that you'd have an easier time beating AJ than Canelo, man, you are tripping. And to be honest with you, at this stage in your career, I think Canelo destroys you, and I think fucking Anthony Joshua destroys you. You understand what I mean? Ward showed that his reflexes is not the same. That's why he was able to get hit with by so many clean shots from Kovalev. The thing with Kovalev is he finally realized, like, because when I watch Kovalev, I've never seen Kovalev the way other people. Oh man, he's like I said, Max Kellerman. Certain guys always build these guys to be monsters, and they're so unstoppable. I've never seen Kovalev that way. I've seen many flaws in the guy, and it's like, okay, I think Kovalev was a good fighter. He was a good fighter, strong fighter and all, but he was just so basic that it's like, man, come on, man. Type of guys that you watch, and guys like Ray Leonard or Pernell was to break down and make look like fools and stuff like that. He's just one of those guys, just strong. He kept it long. He knew the basic fundamentals, but there was a lot of things. To me, one of the biggest things he lacked was heart as a bully. See, that's the thing. People get all afraid of all that frowning, and then realize after they win, damn, this is all I had to do. And he can't take body shots, and he showed that. Anyway, y'all, like I said, let me know in the comments what y'all think about Andre Ward and his comments to Anthony Joshua. Do y'all think it's personal, more so than him just having an actual belief that Anthony Joshua is not as good as he really is, or as other people think he is, or unified champ, and they're still talking like he's on the come up, like he's not there yet. Anyway, that's all I'm gonna say in this video. I'll catch y'all in the next video. Never fall in love with lies. Remember, the truth brings hate out of people. Out.